Okay. So, welcome everyone to Strive Path to our channel. We actually have gotten a lot of questions from our student families, those with students who are rising ninth graders, rising 10th graders, rising 11th graders and 12th graders. And the question is, okay, school is around the corner. As hard as that is to believe, it's already, towards the second half of July. What should my student what should we focus on? What should the student focus on? What should I focus on as a parent? And so we decided to put these together. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually discuss ninth grade. So the topic of this, convo, I think we'll kind of keep this to about 10 minutes or so, is how to prepare for ninth grade. And this is going to be a guide for both parents and for students. And with me, we've got Cole, actually, one of our consultants from StrivePath. Hey, Cole.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. This would be a good conversation. I think a lot of parents have actually asked us about this. I'm glad we're like getting this together. So I'm hoping as I'm moving our screen around, it's not too crazy. So I'm just going to put us over here. All right. So for those who don't know, we work with a number of student families across the Bay Area, and our whole approach is student first, not college. And the way that we do that is we empower our student families, um, and we spend quite a bit of time learning who they are, and we find ways to challenge them in ways that are meaningful to them. Along the way, we give them access to different market insights, community resources, and so we just ensure holistic development and better outcomes. So that's us. And now, with respect to your speakers, so I can quickly kick us off. So I am the founder of Strive Path. My background actually is not in education. I come from healthcare, and we started this, and we've just had tremendous success. We just have a lot of, I'd say, very, very happy families. Now, more importantly, we have Cole, who's been, I'd say, in this space for quite some time, and we're just super happy to have him on the team. So, Cole, would love to hear a bit more about you and your background.
All right. So I studied English and creative writing at Columbia University. And after graduating, I quickly transitioned to high school teaching. I taught high school English for 10 years, where I mostly taught seniors. And I worked on college essays and college applications. And then I realized that's what I needed to be doing full time. So I've been a full-time college essay coach and college guidance counselor for the past 11 years. And I've loved it.
Awesome. And your students really love working with you as well. So that's been great to see. All right, so let's kick this off. So let's maybe discuss the objective of ninth grade, and this is going to be just a conversation. But as you think about high school, the ninth grade is really just about exploration, right? The intent is to try new things. At the same time, this is when we start to, I'd say, establish the habits that can then kind of carry on into sophomore, junior, and senior year. So really, this is all about exploring and trying new things, but also exploring how you study, right? Exploring
What
how you get organized. Yeah, go for it, Cole.
my goal for ninth graders is that they join a a a real activity each
Yep.
semester. I want if you think that cross country is right for you, I want you to join the cross country team. It doesn't matter if you're on the freshman team. It doesn't matter if you sit the bench on the on the volleyball, on the JV, on the freshman volleyball team. Okay? The point is that you're out there and you're doing something. And the same goes for it doesn't you never have to do sports. There's this myth out there that
Yeah.
sports are important. What colleges want to see is that students are keeping themselves busy and doing activities that they enjoy. And colleges are impressed when students take on when they are members of the school band or the jazz band or the school play. So you could join the musical and you can have the smallest part on the musical, but if you have a great time, then that was a good, then it's totally worth it.
Exactly. And I like that a lot because, our whole notion and our whole mantra is it's almost like forget about the college and just focus on you, the student, right? Because what's important is that if you have a productive use of time, naturally colleges are going to really appreciate that. But more importantly, that's just going to lead to just better development for you
Right.
as a student. Yep, I agree with that.
So let's
Let's
look for
yeah.
let's look for one activity in each semester, but you can do
Hmm.
more. You can do a fall, winter, and spring activity, and you can also join clubs, and that's what we're getting into. You can
Yep.
join, most students have time to join multiple clubs.
Yeah, and actually, we had a discussion yesterday with a few different moms too, and one of the questions was, well, there are these club fairs. Should we just, have my student go to those? Definitely yes. The only thing to just be mindful of is sometimes the loudest club gets the most number of signups, right?
Hmm?
And what's important is that we don't want your students, I'd say, innate curiosity to kind of get drowned out or to get consumed by the rolling tide of whatever's happening at that school. And so we typically say, check out online resources that your high school or your middle, or check out the online resources that your school has first. Evaluate those, and then definitely check out the club fair. But I wouldn't do the reverse. Now, let's actually look into the academics. So one thing that I want to highlight is sometimes we hear from students that, ninth grade doesn't matter. Well, it actually does matter quite a bit when it comes to academics, because this is the year when you can really set up strong study habits that'll then kind of carry over into 10th and 11th grade. So we've got a couple of tips here, like sit in front of the class, right? Figure out what works best for you to get organized. But Cole, you've worked with so many students as well,
Hmm.
especially those who are in ninth grade. Any other tips that kind of come to mind and anything else
Yeah.
you want to add? Yeah.
So there's this myth that school gets harder each year, that 10th grade is harder than ninth grade and 11th grade is harder than 10th. And while the work is harder each year, the student also gets smarter and better at school. And I actually, so based on how students join, I actually think that ninth grade is the hardest year for students. So, and it's not that the material is challenging, it's that it's challenging for the student to stay organized. So I think that the real goal for ninth grade is to stay organized. I love the tip to sit in front of the class. Okay. If you sit in the front and you pay attention and you avoid sitting with your friends and you keep track of your homework and you're motivated, you'll do really well.
But it is important for there to be some rules established around tech usage, because what we've seen is sometimes it can become a bit of a slippery slope. If some of those guardrails aren't established in ninth grade with respect to how often you can use your phone or video games, it can really kind of consume a lot of the students, I'd say, like time outside of school and focus as well. And so it's really important as well for parents to kind of create, I'd say, a weekly check-in, right? Or just a regularly cadence check-in with their student about not just specifically how school is going, but but give room for deeper reflection and deeper questions, right? So instead of saying, how was English today? Instead ask a question like, how was that assignment that you worked on with, so and so, right? What was it that you enjoyed the most? What was it that you least enjoyed? Because this is creating some level of reflection in the student, and it'll also kind of give you as the parent insight into what their academic plan and preferences might look like. Awesome. Tutors. Okay. So Cole, I think you might have a couple of thoughts here. Do you want to lead or should I?
Yeah, sure. So I've been contacted by many families for math and writing tutoring, and I have something to say about both. Let's start with math tutoring. Math tutoring is really beneficial. Anytime a student is struggling in math, I definitely recommend finding a tutor. I recommend finding a professional tutor. I think it's worth the money versus a high school or a college student. I actually think that a high school student will be a better tutor than a college student. College students are busy and flaky. So if you want to save some money, I think that hiring another high school student is actually a really good idea. Um, or you can post on Nextdoor, and you never know what you're going to find. But paying a lot of money and finding a really good experienced math tutor, especially if your student has learning differences, that it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. A once a week or twice a week math tutoring can make a big difference. Now, I have families who reach out to me for writing tutoring. They say, "Oh, my child cannot write," and I tell them there's really only one way that writing tutoring works, and that's if the student has an assignment. And a lot of schools are no longer assigning essays. The English classes are really cutting down on essay assignments. And so my recommendation there is hire a writing tutor when the student has an essay due or any kind of writing project. Otherwise, there is not weekly writing tutoring doesn't really work. For writing tutoring, you should really hire on demand.
That's great.
And then
Um,
there's one final major group of tutoring, and that's study skills, especially for students with ADHD or dyslexia. Those tutors can be really helpful, can really change lives.
yeah, and actually, so you brought up ADHD and dyslexia. So this is an important topic as well. It's accommodations. So if your student is on an IEP or has an IEP or 504, it's important to make sure that you as a student or you as the parent advocate for them and make sure that they get the appropriate accommodations.
Hmm.
And one of the tips that we got from some of our parents was to actually get to know your counselor so they can also better advocate for your student and even set up a meeting with your student's counselor the third or fourth week to see how things are going and whether these accommodations are being
I don't
useful.
think you should set it up the third or fourth week. I mean, counselors are really busy in the first 2 weeks, but
Okay.
I think you should even set it up before the school begins.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
The way this works, and parents who have students with learning differences know, is every year it's a challenge. You have to do it all over. And I really empathize with parents who have to work so hard for their students you have to fight for accommodations every year. The every year you're going to get a new group of teachers who does not know your students' accommodations, and often, even if they're given there's an IEP meeting that all teachers are supposed to have, but they don't always pay attention during it. And so you as a parent have to remind the counselor and the teachers every year to provide your student with the accommodations they deserve. And it's a lot of work, it's exhausting, but your child deserves it.
Yep. I could not have said that any better myself. Um, so I think that's kind of like a perfect place for us to wrap up. So just to quickly kind of recap, there's a lot actually that you can do between now and um, or like I'd say in the first few weeks of starting ninth grade. But we hope this is helpful. So if you'd like to contact us, our contact information is right here. And then I think next week we'll actually post something on transitioning to 10th grade if you are the parent or if you are the student and you are transitioning into 10th grade. So with that, thanks so much. So Cole, thank you so much for your time. And with that, I hope everyone has an amazing end of the summer.